everybody. This is Katie. I don't really know. This is just kind of a late night chat, and I wanted to say hi and kind of get to know and chat with people, and I'm adjusting stuff. I'm very comfortable with you guys, I guess. So I had a lot of thoughts that I've been thinking through for the last couple days, and I kind of wanted to share just stuff that I've been thinking about, I guess. I don't think it's going to be very long or anything like that. I just really wanted to kind of get this out there and get this, I guess, out in the open or whatever. So, excuse me, I'm sending this to a couple people. But I wanted to chat with you guys about stuff. It's a late night chat. It's a lot of stuff going on, and I've been thinking about, like, just sort of being the way I am, and it's been kind of a little weird and a little bit frustrating, for a variety of reasons, and I was hoping to kind of get a discussion going, I guess, but, I'm not like a huge name YouTuber or anything like that, but I do need to get more comfortable talking in front of a camera as well, on a side note. So I'm trying to be more articulate in that particular way. But I've got the chat open. I have some friends who are on Discord and whatever, but I don't think they're watching right now, so I guess I could just get started. I do apologize for the mess behind me. I don't really have a whole lot of stuff to do or whatever. I don't even know, what I'm saying anymore. But I kind of wanted to have a discussion, and I kind of wanted to maybe vent or just sort of hang out with you guys or spend time with you all. Oh, there's too much headroom with the camera. I didn't take a film class, but I feel like there's too much headroom, but it's not a big deal. I don't intend to stream for all that long, but I wanted to, and I've been thinking about doing this for the last couple days. I just been really thinking about, I guess, this subject, and it's been a little bit frustrating, and it's been a little bit weird, and so yeah, this is just me trying to talk to people and make this channel more open and, available for everybody. So welcome to whatever this is. And I just lost a viewer. That's like half my audience. There's only one person watching, and I don't even know who that is. And I guess I wanted to get also like a comment section or chat or something going on. Maybe I should post this like directly to my fan server or whatever. Live, check out videos because I want to chat. Alright, so to the people who are, probably watching this later on, apologies, this is a very long opening. Maybe I should like add a title card down here saying when I'm actually going to start talking. But, I just wanted to wait a second for people to kind of get on and to see that I was streaming, I guess, and to just sort of hang out and whatever's going on. The only person watching me is my friend, who already knows a lot of what I was going to say anyway, but whatever, that works too. So welcome, Sushi. Looking forward to seeing you next month. Apologies for the mess behind me. So I guess it's been kind of a weird few days, and this topic's been on my mind for a lot, because there's just a lot of kind of things going through my head, because I'm going to be 30 this year. I'm going to turn 30 in September, and at the time of recording this, it's currently February. So I am I'm not long for this world, I guess. Or not long for my 20s, at least. But I guess I started thinking, I kind of go through these like phases where I'm, as an asexual person and an aromantic person, there's a lot of stuff that I don't really understand. A lot of, I guess, human interactions that I don't really understand, and a lot of, I don't even know, like, it's a bit hard to put into words, but I guess what I'm trying to say, or trying to open this with, is that this whole idea of, like, romance, this whole idea of sex, this whole idea of, like, being attracted to somebody in that way is something that I don't, like, I went through a period of time where I kind of got it, but I don't really think that I've ever had it for real. I don't think that I've ever felt that way about somebody in my entire life. This, you know, the way that they describe it, the way they say, you know, you'll want to do all this stuff. And, you know, I grew up in the church. I'm still, you know, active in it, but, you know, I'm not naive enough to think that, you know, the church is a perfect thing. And I don't think that, you know, the church is full of, you know, not the best people at times. You know, we're all sinners. But to anybody who doesn't know, like, and I think that this is fairly true for not just the Christian churches, but I'm sure this is fairly true for a lot of different religions, but I'm framing it in the you know, the Protestant upbringing that I had. As a teenager, I was always told stuff like, you know, it's really hard to wait. You know, you've got all these new feelings, these new desires, you know. Oh, I've got a strap showing. Yeah, I'm real comfortable with you guys. You know, I've got, like, you know, you're going to have all these feelings. You're going to have all of these desires, and you're going to have all of these temptations. And you may start dating someone, and here's how to date, you know, healthily. Here's how to, I guess, like, channel those temptations into a better source than, you know, making bad decisions as a teenager. And to be fair, like, I do think that is a legitimate thing. You know, teenagers are going through puberty, and, you know, they're not mature enough to be in sexual relationships. And I mean, I'm not saying that as a prude. I'm saying that is, you know, the brain is not fully developed at that age, and so they're more likely to make bad decisions in that area. And so I do think that there is something to be said about waiting to an extent, at least. I think a lot of people who engage in that behavior early on regret it in a lot of different contexts, and not just, you know, the church or whatever. But I was told a lot of the time that there was going to be all these feelings, and that, you know, puberty was going to create this different, you know, these different feelings in me, and that, you know, my emotions were going to be different, that my desires were going to be different, that I was going to be more physically attracted to people. And I kind of just waited for that to happen, because I just assumed it was going to. And I was kind of a late bloomer growing up, so, you know, with puberty and stuff like that, I hit my growth spurt kind of late and things like that. So I kind of figured at the beginning of it all, I was like, okay, well, I don't feel this way, but, yeah, I'll keep this in the back of my mind. You know, I'll keep this in mind for when all of that starts to happen. And I waited, and I had a short period of time where I thought, oh yeah, this is it, this is the moment. And then, you know, looking back in retrospect, it was more, I had like so I found a website on asexuality that kind of, that told you the different kinds of attraction, various kinds of attraction, such as aesthetic attraction, but there's also something called sensual attraction, which means that you, like, desire to touch somebody, but it's not in a sexual way, it's in a very platonic and friendly way, you know, like cuddling and hugging and all of that stuff, but not in a romantic sort of context. And then there was a lot of other different kinds of attraction as well. But the thing that kind of jumped out to me, I was like, oh, that's what it was. You know, it was a sensual attraction. I wanted to give this guy a hug. You know, it was like a sensual and an aesthetic attraction kind of thing. And that's the closest I've ever gotten there. So, you know, I'm thinking like, oh, I want to give this guy a hug. You know, I want to, you know, do all this, you know, very friendly things with a guy, but I also want him to make me the priority. And I want to commit to this person. And I kind of went through that for, you know, a period of time where that was kind of my thing. That was kind of how I felt attraction to people, and not having any, like legitimate romantic attraction, I didn't understand that that wasn't romantic attraction. I didn't understand that that was just a, you know, a side effect, I guess, of being a romantic. So I thought, oh yeah, I guess I'm straight now. I figured that out. But you know, I'd never been tempted by, you know, men's bodies. You know, I'll see guys' abs and be like, oh yeah, I want all of that. Because I've seen, you know, women who just scream at men, and I'm like, what is this? And I know that there's like various levels of attraction that you can like not be asexual and yet still have a low libido, and I understand that. That's a thing. You know, it's all kind of on a spectrum. But I never had it. Like, I genuinely didn't have that desire. It just felt like a thing, and I guess on some level I kind of figured, oh yeah, once I find the right person, I'll feel comfortable enough to do that. And that was kind of my mindset, you know, as I kind of went through life with that mindset. And I thought, you know, this is going to happen eventually. And I guess to an extent, you know, I'm almost 30, but to an extent, quite honestly, I kind of still feel that way. I kind of still feel like deep down there's like this denial that I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like eventually something's going to give. Eventually my sexuality is going to come out of me, and I'm going to find out what the heck I am. And I understand that it can be fluid, so I would say that I may have been a little bit closer when I was younger, but it's kind of receded a little bit. It's kind of like I don't have one at this point. And it's very, very strange. I can feel its absence, though. And it's a very strange thing. And I don't know if there's other asexuals who've actually said this. I don't know. You know, I don't read up on a lot of the literature, because it does tend to be kind of like in those really heavy LGBT circle kind of things. And I kind of try to keep my distance from there because I see a lot of toxicity there. So I don't want to get like right up in the middle. I know that a lot of asexuals are kind of ostracized by that community. They're like, oh, you're not oppressed, or you're not as oppressed as us, and things like that. And that's just not. I don't want to get involved in that. You know, like, you do you, but that's just not for me. So, you know, I tend to kind of avoid that kind of literature. So I guess I guess I don't really have a whole lot of, you know, I guess literature about the experience of asexuality, the feelings that are normal for asexuals. So I don't know if anybody else really feels like they're missing something, like maybe a piece of humanity, or a piece of like who you are or who you should be deep inside. But I definitely, and it could just be the fact that, you know, you see romance all around you, and those feelings don't ever come, and you're hearing love songs, and you're seeing people falling in love around you, and your friends having crushes and all of that. And a part of you is thinking like, well, I don't have that. That's not me. That's none of that is me. I'm not getting those feelings. I'm not having those crushes, you know. The closest thing that I have is this aesthetic attraction to somebody, or this, I guess, desire to hug my friends or whatever, but that's far from what they're feeling, you know? And then you kind of look out the window and you look, you know, I'm in a college town now. I moved to be able to go to college, and there's just people everywhere. And when you start to like think about that, you're like, well, you know, there's people everywhere, which means that they all have parents. A lot of them, most of them have siblings. So when you're thinking through that, you're like, okay, so that's, you know, people in the past who had this attraction, and people in the past who had the attraction that brought them, and then you go back and back and back, you know, hundreds of thousands of years, or however long the human race has been around. I'm not a scientist, but, you know, it might not be hundreds of thousands. I have no idea. But you go back a couple, at the very least, you know, like quite a few thousand years, and, you know, there's some kind of instinct And human beings have, mammals have this instinct. I never heard of an asexual dog, for example, but I'm sure that they exist. I'm sure it's a genetic thing that exists in other species. I don't know if they do, but I think it's plausible, I guess. But I guess I kind of wonder, like, okay, so if there's this many people out there, and you meet people who are like, oh yeah, I was an accident, or I was, an oops baby, or whatever. So you're kind of, I guess recently for me, I'm kind of like internalizing that and thinking like, oh my gosh, there's so many people who feel that way about other people. There's so many people who have that kind of attraction. And I don't. And I was born to two people who definitely were straight. My parents have both talked about, not their sex life, thank God, but, having crushes in high school and feeling attracted to people. Not on a, really detailed level, but the idea that, like, oh, I had a crush when I was in high school, here's a funny story. But they definitely kind of went through that stuff themselves. And they're still married, so I guess it worked. And I'm not the only child. So I guess the idea is that, like, it kind of feels weird to me because on the one hand, it's like, I exist because of this. This created me. And, as a religious person, I believe God created me. But on a purely scientific level, and I do very much believe in science and faith being very much connected, and, I don't believe in believing things without any, proof or anything like that. And I'm not going to get into a religious argument over this, but it just feels weird. It kind of feels, when you put it into that kind of perspective, it kind of makes me feel like a mutant, like something went wrong somewhere, like something kind of didn't connect in my head. And otherwise, I have ADHD, but, like, otherwise I'm not crazy or abnormal, I don't, I can act in a normal situation, I can be friendly, I can be, a normal human being, but there's this whole aspect, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my nose has been itching all day, there's this, like, whole aspect of humanity that I don't have, and I think because there's so much, like, romance and this, the entire human race is continued through, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a train outside, apparently. The whole human race was, like, brought forth because of it. I definitely do feel that there's something missing. This whole aspect of humanity that the door has been shut, that I can't access it. And it's really frustrating, because I want to understand, and I think, the fact that I like romance and things, I ship things, I enjoy talking about it, but it's always on kind of like a purely, I don't want to say scientific or intellectual, but like as a spectator, I guess. As a spectator, or a content creator. And I think I can write a romance fairly realistically, but for some reason, it's like, it's just not there. It's just a door it's like I said, it's maybe like a window, you're looking through a window, waving through a window if you're familiar with, like, Dear Evan Hansen, but that window is not open to you. There's no way to get it open, but there's something in there that you want. There's something in there that it seems like a really nice thing, and I don't have any way of accessing it. And, you get your people who are demisexual or demi-romantic or whatever, and it's kind of like that for them, but then eventually they get it. Eventually they get through that initial, inability to get it, but for me, it just doesn't really seem to be a thing, I guess. And there's just something kind of disorienting or disconcerting about it. It kind of makes me feel a bit less human. It kind of makes me feel a little less like a real person. It makes me feel like there's, an aspect of humanity that I'm not. It kind of makes me feel a bit alien. And I don't know if this is normal for other asexual people. I'm not in the community or anything like that. But I kind of feel like there's just this whole world out there, and I can only experience up to that door with attraction and friendship, and I don't have any problem with that. Like, I think my love toward my friends, I think, is completely within the realm of normal. You know, I don't think that it's abnormal. I don't think that I'm super attached to them, or, like, attached to them on an unnatural level, and I don't think that I keep them at arm's length or anything like that. I think that, you know, I'm normal in that aspect. And I think that most people are. I think that unless you've got some kind of personality disorder, most people can figure out the friend thing and figure out, you know, how you're supposed to feel about your friends and how you're supposed to love your friends or your family or, you know, loved ones who are not romantic in nature. But they all seem to kind of adapt to this other thing, this closer thing that, you know, and then society says, like, oh, you know, love is the greatest, you know, or, you know, sex is like the biggest expression of love that you can do for someone. And I'm like, is it though? I don't think so. I can think of a lot of things I'd rather have. But you know, I was watching it was Quantum Leap. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about the episode, but it was, you know, he leaped into a mother, and she was talking, you know, he was talking to the son character who's 15, and who was being made fun of because he was a virgin. And I thought that he said something quite, you know, that was kind of nice. It was, you know, this is the 1990s, and so I think that they had a bigger push toward wait for the right person, which I think is a positive thing. I don't think that we as a society are going in the right direction if we're saying, like, oh, it's all, you know, casual's great. Because I think that's destructive, but that's a totally different conversation. Oh, I just went out of focus. Hello. There we go. Okay. But when he was talking to the teenage son, who was embarrassed about being a virgin and whatnot, he said something like, sex is something that you do when you find the right person and you love them so much that that's the way you want to show them that love, or that's the extent to which you want to show them that love. So he was basically saying, wait until you truly, genuinely love somebody to make that decision. And you're in a committed relationship, you know, you have that emotional aspect to it. And I mean, I like the sentiment. I think that from an intellectual standpoint, for people who are, you know, have that desire, I think that that's really good advice. I think that, you know, waiting for the right person is a good thing to do. But because I don't have that, it kind of felt a little bit alienating. It kind of felt like he was saying, like, you know, I guess it kind of felt like he was saying, wait till you find the right person, then give your body to them. And I know that's not what he was saying. I know that he was saying that in a more emotional context, because there definitely is an emotional context to it. But I kind of felt like, I don't feel like that's the ultimate expression of love. And I don't think as a society we should necessarily consider it the ultimate expression of love either. I think that the ultimate expression of love is very dependent on who it is who's giving and receiving of it. I think that there are people out there who would rather have a card with, you know, beautifully written, you know, words of love toward someone that they would rather have than a physical relationship, or they'd rather somebody, I don't know, got them chocolates, or I don't know. I don't really know all that, but there's so many ways to show love, and as an asexual person, I kind of feel kind of locked out of one of them, but I still want to feel like a normal person. Does that make sense? You know, I kind of still want to feel like there's things I can still do, and there's a way I can still live my life, and there's a way I can still love people and still be part of the human experience without having to give my body to them, because I don't want to do that. That's just not something I ever want to do. You know, I feel very protective of my body. I always consider, like, hugs and things to be more of a privilege, because that's just something, you know, that's just how I feel about it. And I don't mind physical contact, but that's just, it feels like an invasion to me, I guess. It feels like somebody's coming into my body and is like, it's doing things to me. And I get that it's a give and take, and you read enough fan fiction and you know really what it means and how it's supposed to feel and all of that stuff. But I guess for me it kind of feels like this can't be the ultimate expression of love. This can't be the ultimate goal of a relationship. This can't be all there is. And I feel weird. I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if there are people out there who aren't asexual who still feel that way. But I do. And I don't necessarily think it's a crazy way to feel. But I want to feel like I'm allowed to love somebody in my own way, as opposed to, I guess, conforming to this standard that society has that I need to pick a partner and marry them and spend the rest of my life with them and, I guess, have children if I so desire. Actually, might not be able to, but that's a whole other story, and I don't really want to have kids. But you know what I mean? It's like a very strange kind of thing that it just seems strange to me, I guess. And I guess that's kind of what I had in mind when I set out to make this video, is this idea that people, you know, all over society and all over the world and all over just, you know, everywhere saying like, oh, sex is the top, you know, sex is the ultimate expression of love. It's right up there with everything else below it. You can't get closer than that, or something like that. And I just kind of feel like, as an asexual person myself, as an asexual, aromantic person, I don't have that connection. I don't feel like that's a positive thing. Yeah, and again, this is literally coming from a Christian background. And so even in that circle, what I'm saying is crazy. And I'm not kidding. What I'm saying is like nuts in that circle. What I'm saying in that context is everyone's like, well, God created sex to bond two married people. But, and I get that angle. I'm not going to push that angle. I do think that it should be between two people who love each other, but whatever. But for me, it just feels like, well, then God needs to come up with a better idea, because that's gross. So, if you know what I mean. And I also kind of find the idea of marriage kind of weird. Like, I get, marriage, children, continuing the bloodline, and then in the Christian context, and I'm sure other religious contexts, it's like, these are the people that you witness to, and they go on to do amazing things for God or whatever deity it is. I get that. It's like a circle of life kind of thing. But it still kind of feels like a very strange thing to me. And I guess the idea of, while I get, if you get married and you have kids, you're going to have to put them really high on your list of priority. I get that. Like, that's not my ultimate disconnect or my problem. Like, they've got to be a high priority. If it's not, then you're not going to have a healthy life. You're not going to have a healthy relationship. Totally get it. But I kind of feel like marriage is this, like, for me at least, marriage is like this unattainable thing that I can't have, because first of all, I'm not attracted to men in that way at all. I find that kind of abhorrent. But, I mean, just personally, I don't hate men or anything like that. The idea of spending the rest of my life with a man just sounds awful to me. Or even really a woman, like, at least in that, close context. So, no. I guess that's what I have to say, ultimately, is that, no. That's not how I feel. That's not what I want. But I'm one of the few people who feels that way, I think asexuals make up, like, 1% of the population. So the chances are my closest friends are going to get married. And when they do, their husband is, or whoever it is, I only have, like, heterosexual friends. I'm not excluding anyone, but that's, like, my top friends are straight. But, you know, when they get married, I get that they're going to have to put their husbands, like, really high. I get that romantic thing, that relationship, it's got to be a priority. I get that. But for people who are single and for people who are asexual or aromantic, there's that level of, like, well, why can't I be that high on the list? Or why can't I be at least, like, the next one down? Or why can't I be really important? And I guess it's something that I'm struggling with a lot. I've been having a lot of anxiety, but I don't have any friends who are dating anyone. So this is just unfounded anxiety at this point. But I have been having a lot of anxiety about that, this idea that, you know, I'm living on borrowed time. My friends are all single right now. Like, and when I say my friends, like, I have a lot of friends, okay? So I have a married friend, and she's cool. She and I talk all the time, so obviously she's not so enamored with her husband that she's not able to talk to me or, you know, her other friends, but I guess the idea is that, you know, and this is actually particularly something that I think is wrong with Christian circles, so very much willing to speak out against that. I think that there's this this expectation, and I think it's particularly in religious circles, but it's not, I don't think it's unique to that circle, is that you've got two statuses. You've got married and you've got waiting to get married. And it's particularly egregious when you're, you know, trying to find, maybe you're, okay, we're gonna get into the religious thing here because, like, it's the best example I can come up with, but I'm speaking from my own, experience. But as a single woman, it actually is kind of harder to find, like, a good devotional, because a vast majority of the women's devotional is, like, it's either like focused on, you know, here's how to be a godly wife, or here's how to make yourself into a godly wife so that you can achieve that real Christian status of getting married. And it kind of just ignores or doesn't mention or doesn't think it's important to even remotely think about your singles who don't want to get married, your singles who want to stay that way, who feel most comfortable staying that way. And it's funny because the Bible, of all books, is the one that actually is, at least to my knowledge, I can't think of another holy book, and I did look this up once, so if I'm wrong about this, please let me know. But the Bible actually does make at least one reference to asexuality, as a calling by God. I think Jesus says something about, like, there are eunuchs who are eunuchs from birth, and people think that that's a reference to the idea of there are people who have no sexual desire from birth, and that is a perfectly normal and a perfectly natural way to be. And so it's very interesting that this thing is biblical. And then later on, the Apostle Paul, I forget what book it is. It's Romans, I think, but I could be wrong on that because he wrote a lot of books. It's mostly letters. But he says at one point that it's good to stay single. Singleness is good. Like, singleness is an inherent good. And that there are people who don't have strong desires, and if they don't have strong desires, it's actually better for them to stay single. But for some reason, the church kind of just skims over that. And it's very interesting because Paul was single, and he's written all these letters, but they just skim right over that, and are like, you know, default status is married or searching. And it kind of creates a bit of a rift. For me, at least. And it kind of creates this environment in which my type of person doesn't exist. which is interesting. And it's interesting in kind of a weird way. And I get it, you know, most people are married or seeking, or married or would like to be married. I get that that's kind of a majority, but I kind of feel like there should be more of a push toward, and I think that it's not just a Christian circle thing. I think it actually might be more of a societal circle thing too, because a lot of things about being single, a lot of the time you'll read about it and it'll say, it seems to be on one of two angles. It seems to either be like, I don't need no man/woman, I don't need some relationship, I'm perfectly happy how I am, and, you know, screw this opposite sex, opposite gender, whatever, I hate marriage is a terrible institution, blah, 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 blah. I don't like that either, I think that that's stupid, but, it's either way on that spectrum, or it's way pendulum swings on the other spectrum, where it's like, I want to get married, when is the right person gonna come, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I wish that there was more, and I feel like I'm not in that much of a minority. I'm definitely in a minority, and I get that. But I don't think that I'm in such a tiny minority that people can't acknowledge my existence, of the people who are single, want to stay single, and respect the institution of marriage, and think it's a wonderful thing, but don't really want to participate in it. And is that just me? Like, leave a comment or a chat message. I've got 2 people watching. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But is that just me? Or is anybody else seeing that? Is anybody else seeing that as kind of like our culture? It seems to be kind of very vehemently against relationships or vehemently for it. And there just does not seem to be a healthy middle. It doesn't seem to be a huge group of people who are just like, you know, I am happy for you, but this is not my path. This is not what I want to do. And it's bad in, I think, every societal thing that I see, at least. But both the religious and the secular both kind of have that problem. They both kind of have that expectation, I guess. And that's not something that I think is very healthy. So, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's like, maybe I'm just in this tiny bubble of happy singleness by myself, but I don't think I am. I don't think I'm that unusual, and I don't think that I should be made to feel like that, you know, I don't think I should be made to feel like, like the way that I am, the way that I feel, the way that I, you know, express myself. Yeah, I don't think that that's weird. I don't think that that's like abnormal. I don't think that that's not human or not natural or whatever. I don't think that it's that weird. I don't really, and I feel like there needs to be more of a push from happy singles, on religious, secular, LGBT. I think that community kind of needs that push too. But this idea of singleness being not a horrible thing, not a curse, it's very freeing. It's very much making your own choices, making your own decisions about your life. And I think that marriage is wonderful. I really genuinely do. I think it's a beautiful institution. I think sex is an inherently good thing that can be perverted through people being way too casual with it. I think, and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so prudish, you know, you should never do it unless in these very specific circumstances. But I do think that it's not something to be taken very lightly. I think that your emotions can get very tangled, and that's just all the stuff I've heard. And I just feel like that's just, maybe it's just me, but I respect all of that. I just don't want to participate in it. And I feel like kind of a mutant for not wanting to participate in it. I kind of feel like a weird sub person who doesn't have the full human experience, but is trying, and you just kind of look at them and are like, well, that's nice, you know, pat me on the head and send me off. But it's not, I don't know. It just seems like a stupid way to live. It seems like a stupid thing, I guess, that people think, that people expect that people, have this standard about. And I'm getting and I got a comment from Sushi that says there should be a healthy middle, though people have different lives and nobody's path will be the same. Exactly. Like, I think that we've got this society that's so focused on tolerance, and in a lot of ways, I think that is a very positive direction. I do think that tolerance is inherently, depending on what you're tolerating, of course, but it's a good thing. It's good that we're starting to open up, and we're starting to see different lifestyles and different ways of doing things, and we're starting to see, okay, this is a culture, this is a decision, this is not hurting anybody. Obviously, exceptions if they're actually hurting someone. And we're starting to see that and say, okay, that's fine. You do you. There's nothing wrong with that. But for some reason, my demographic, I guess, and I think especially for a woman, I think that it's a little bit harder for us because there's just such a strong push for women still to either, like, get married or become that angry feminist. If that makes any sense. And I don't want to be either one of those. I don't want to be the woman with 3 kids and regretting her life, and I don't want to be that angry feminist because she's angry and she's not happy. And I don't think they're very happy with their lives, and I think that they're dealing with a lot of internalized pain. I think they're dealing with a lot of anger. And it's not a healthy way of thinking. It's not a very healthy way of living. And you get, and then of course you get like a lot of other communities, like you get for the men, you get like the incel community, which is like, oh, I want to be that guy who tips the fedora, but the nice girls never go for me. They always go for the bad boys, the chads. That's the name they've chosen for that jerk guy who just takes advantage of women or whatever. But that subgroup of men who don't really have the desire either way, I have never in my life seen that represented. I've never seen like some angry or misogynistic guy being like, I hate women, so I don't want to get married to them, they ruin everything, blah blah blah. And that it tends to be like the incels who are like, they secretly just want a really hot chick and they're just really horny underneath. Just the way they talk, it's really obvious. And so it's funny, I guess, that they're kind of like the male equivalent of the, raging misandrist, feminist, crazy chick, whatever. And I'm not trying to bash feminism or anything. I think that third wave feminism has kind of, made that particular type of feminist more popular. And I think that's an unhealthy thing, but totally different subject. But I don't think I've ever seen like a category of men who were like me, who are like, I don't want to get married, but I respect the institution of marriage. It's just not for me. It's not my thing. Or same with like relationships. If you don't really, if you're one of those people who's like, I just want to be in relationships. I don't want to get married, whatever, whatever that is, I just don't see that with guys either. And I think that our demographic, I think it's more or less that our demographic is kind of in that weird middle spot that doesn't really get any representation. It doesn't get representation. It doesn't get acknowledgement. It doesn't get any of that because our society is just so like relationship positive and sex crazy and all that stuff. They've got, they're just on that trajectory to the point where it's either you're really pro that or you're really against it, but there just does not seem to be that middle ground. And that really frustrates me. It makes me kind of feel invisible in just human society. And I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's just me being really sensitive or if it's me being really, I guess, frustrated about that. But bottom line, I don't want my displays of how much I love people to mean less than giving my body to them. I want my gifts, my hugs, my words to mean a lot. I don't want them to be this lesser form of love or this indication that I don't love them as much as somebody who's willing to give them their body, because in the end of the day, it's just somebody else's body. You can do that without loving them. And I'm sure it's a different experience. I wouldn't know. I've never participated in that particular experience by choice. And I don't think I ever will. So, what do I know? You know? But I really don't think that should be the high standard. I already said this, but I don't think that should be the high standard. I don't think that should be what people are looking for, what people are trying to, like, achieve and build up to that level. I wish that we just kind of took these gestures, these affectionate, you know, loving gestures as deeply valuable, as, you know, and you see it with family members as well. I think when it's family members, it's considered a good thing, and, you know, on that really high level too, you know, like taking care of somebody if they're sick, or giving hugs and kisses to your kids, all really good things, all very positive. But you get a society that's sexualized everything so much that I can't hold hands with my friend when I walk down the street because people are going to think we're lesbians, and that knowing that in the back of my head makes me uncomfortable. So it's a bit disheartening. So I'm like, I wouldn't mind doing that. It sounds nice. Because I love my friend. It's not because I want to be her girlfriend. It's because I love my friend. Dang it. And I kind of just, I guess the way society is right now, and with its swinging toward, you know, acceptance and tolerance and all of that stuff, I just feel like it's left out the asexuals, basically. It's left out your asexual people. It's left out your aromantic people. It's left out the people who want companionship but don't want romance. It's left out this whole group of people. It's a minority of people. I get that. So it doesn't have to cater to our every whim. I'm not going to be super entitled to that. But I still think that it needs to, you know, acknowledge us. I think that we need to be acknowledged. I think that we need to be seen and cared about as human beings who just don't have that switch in their brain. And I'm sure there's, like, some evolutionary reason some people don't have that in their brain. I'm sure there's some kind of reason. I haven't done a whole lot of research, or, you know, I'm not a scientist, but I'm sure there's some kind of, like, evolutionary switch. Like, maybe it's to prevent overpopulation. Maybe it's to help other people, or, like, other animals, I guess. I don't know. And like I said, I don't know if there's any such thing as, like, an asexual dog who has not been spayed or neutered or whatever. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. It just seems very strange that other animals wouldn't have this you know, mindset. But I guess it's not as obvious. But now I'm curious. I should look that up. I guess, yeah, like I said, the bottom line, I'm not being seen. I'm not being seen by my community. I'm not being seen by general society. I'm not being seen by people I know in a way. You know, in my own religion, I'm not being seen. I'm kind of just like an oversight. I'm kind of just like that person where it's like you kind of figure that kind of person exists, but you're probably not going to meet one for a while, or maybe you do, and then you're like, oh, you'll change your mind, honey. And it's funny because we usually don't. You know, I'm not going to change my mind in 10 years and be like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe I will. I'm open to the possibility, but I really don't think that's going to happen because I haven't really had that experience recently or in the last 10 years, so I have no reason to think that my libido suddenly go through the roof when most women's libido decreases. So yeah, it's probably not going to happen. And it's fine. I'm fine with that, personally. Like, but I don't feel that need. I don't feel that desire. So it's like, if it never happens, I'm totally fine with that. I would not have any qualms about dying a virgin. At all. Other than idle curiosity. I'm like, I wonder what it was like. But, you know, that's just not worth... It's not worth experimenting. Or it's not worth just putting away my discomfort to experiment, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm talking in circles. I don't know if I'm rambling at this point. I don't know. But like I said, I don't think that we're being seen, and I don't want to be that person who's like really entitled to people's attention. I don't want to be that person who's like, how dare you? Because I get it. I get why we're not being seen. I don't think that it's healthy. And I think that there are people growing up, and there are people growing up in society, in, you know, religion, in lack thereof, who are all kind of getting the same message that you're either single or you're looking or you hate all relationships. There is few in betweens. And I kind of want to say that's not the case. And, you know, people who are on the asexual spectrum, for a lot of them, for I would even say probably more than 50%, I don't have exact numbers, but for a lot of people on that spectrum, it's like, well, that's not what they're... It kind of feels like you're lost in a sea of fish that aren't anything like you, and you're trying to find, like, your school of fish. It's very strange, and it's like there isn't really a place for you. And it's frustrating because, you know, you're kind of that always a bridesmaid, never a bride thing, and I'm never going to get a wedding gift, I'm never going to get a baby shower gift or an engagement gift, I'm never going to have a pretty ring or a honeymoon or any of that, and there's always the chance that I'll never be able to travel with a friend, which honestly sounds amazing, and I wish I could, but, you know, I'm really scared that when I can afford to travel, all my friends are going to be married with kids and be like, oh, I can't go, or they're going to call home every night, you know, stress over their kids or whatever while they're out, and it's going to kind of kill the mood. And that's disappointing to me, because it's like, I really want that closeness with someone, but not on the level that's socially acceptable to be close with someone, if that makes any sense. So, like I said, I'm not feeling very seen, I'm not feeling very visible, I'm not feeling like I'm like a full person. And as an asexual person, it's like, because of this whole tolerance thing, because people are being more tolerant, they're like, oh yeah, I see you. And that's good. But you still, I think asexuality is still an orientation that a lot of people don't really pay much attention to. And I kind of wish that they would. I kind of wish that it was like considered just, and especially in the church, since it's literally referenced in the Bible. Can we please stop acting like every woman out there wants a husband, every man out there wants a wife, or a progressive church in a same-sex union? But I don't. And I want to be treated as somebody who doesn't, and I want to be respected as someone who doesn't, and I don't want to be told every single time that I'll change my mind. If I change my mind, that's my decision. You know, you don't have to remind me that I'm going to change my mind. Like, it's like if if somebody's like, oh, I'm doing this other project, or I've decided not to do this project, or I've decided to major in something in college, and then everyone's like, oh, you'll change your mind. It's like, I mean, yeah, I might, and there's nothing wrong with that, but what if I don't? Then why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me I'm going to change my mind? What if this is what I want to do? You don't see people doing about other life situations, I guess. You don't see people just kind of saying your feelings aren't valid, or or you don't feel the way you think you do. And it's frustrating. And I think I'm definitely not alone on that feeling. And I think that demi people kind of get that too. Anybody on the ace spectrum, even people who are like demi, they get that too, because maybe they don't ever find anyone, but they're fine with that, or maybe they're not feeling it for long periods of time, and then they get into a relationship, and then they break up, and they never end up with someone, or maybe they get married or whatever, and it'll look like they changed their mind, or they changed their mind, and they didn't really. They just found the right person, and then you get the people who are like, you just haven't found the right person yet. No, I haven't, because there isn't one. I literally cannot fathom any human being who would ever be so amazing that my whole brain and way of feeling things would change to such a sudden extreme. I can't imagine. I could see myself going off the Aromanticism, I guess, for the right person. I could see that because it's not as, like, intrusive, but I don't think the asexuality is going to change. And I guess that's kind of more or less what I wanted to explain. But bottom line, we're not seen. We're not heard. We're not acknowledged. We're not respected. We're not... And I want to say this, like... I want to be sensitive about this because this is not a 100% thing. And I know that there are some people in the asexual community who have been assaulted because people are like, you know, you'll want to do it if you want, having it done to you will make you want to do it, which is the most twisted and disgusting logic imaginable. So I want to say that I get that does happen, but I do think that we're kind of in a weird, we're pressured in a weird way, and expected to share our body with someone. And when you really think about it, really think about what you're telling us we're going to change our minds about. Really think about what you're telling us we're going to change. What you're telling us we want to do when we have clearly stated we don't. I mean, really think about what you're saying, because when you think about it in terms of, like, just the straight up science of it all, even, or any of that, it doesn't make sense, and it's, like, really insulting. So I guess maybe I'm here late. Maybe everybody else in the ace community has already said this ad nauseam, but I say this as somebody who's, like, not super involved in it, so maybe I'm missing it, but it's not something I'm seeing. And I've seen little pieces, usually by people, like, written by people like me, who will write a facetious article about why they're not going to change their minds, or, why I'm not going to change my mind, Aunt Bertha, because I'm asexual, and apparently that's not a thing. And it's not one of those, like, special snowflake, I'm going to have crazy pronouns and expect everybody to call me some gender that, is based on an animal or something. It's not like that. It's a legitimate thing. It's a legitimate thing that has been recognized for, I would say, millennia. If it's in the Bible, it would be millennia. So it's not a new thing. It's just, if it's not a new thing, then why are we acting like it's like, oh, barely anybody feels this way. I guess that's why I'm baffled. I guess that's why it's frustrating to me, because I don't want to see people feel pressured to be in romantic relationships or to try having sex with somebody they don't want to do it with, because they buy into this lie that if they try it, they're gonna like it. Or they buy into this lie that, that they're going to change their mind, or they're going to, that everybody feels that way, or everybody feels that way after a breakup, or, whatever nonsense you hear. I kind of wish that I had gotten, I think as a teenager, I wish somebody had told me that it was okay to feel this way. I think that... I wish that somebody had told me when I was growing up and when I was an adult and all of that, that it was okay to feel this way, and it was okay to not want this, and it was okay to stay single, and it was okay to have friends who are in relationships, who are married and whatnot. And the only thing that's not okay is letting them, totally ignore you because now they're married and their entire life has changed. It's okay to say, like, it's okay to call them out on that, it's okay to not... It's okay to tell them, like, that's not okay, we're still friends. And I get it, you're changing, but our friendship should mean more to you than that. And yeah, Sushi said that it was first recognized and officially labeled in the 80s. And that was, 30-some years ago. But, I mean, people have been asexual for probably since the beginning of humanity, I would say. I'm sure asexual people have existed, but I'm sure that they were coerced into a lot of marriages and in cultures, or, you know, they became priests or something. I don't know. As you can see, I clearly don't know my history, but it's not weird. And I kind of tired of feeling like it is. I'm kind of tired of feeling like the odd person out, the third wheel, the person who isn't as human as everyone else. And that's genuinely kind of how I feel, is like there's something missing. And I don't think I should feel that. I don't think I should feel like there's a missing component to my humanity, because I just happen to be different. You know, I just happen to not have this desire. And I'm sure that asexuality, not being able to compare it to other people's experiences, I'm sure that there are aspects of asexuality and feelings that asexuals have that are fundamentally different from most people, and I don't think we've studied them, and I'm sure it's not different to a point of ridiculousness. I don't know if asexuals tend to be more close to their friends than other people. I don't know. That would be a very interesting study. I don't necessarily think that it's that different. You know, we're just normal people. We're like you. We just don't want to be defined by our relationship status or lack thereof, and we don't want you to be defined by that either. And, you know, I don't want to be feeling this anxiety, I guess, that day is going to come where all my friends get married. I'm going to be getting so many bridesmaid dresses, for goodness sake. And then that's it. You know, they get married and I don't. And that's that. And I don't want to be worried about that. And I don't want to be anxious about that. And I don't think that's fair to people like me to be put in that position, that they're anxious about that they're worried that their friends are going to all change their minds on them. Because we as a society shouldn't prioritize couples more than our single friends. We shouldn't prioritize singleness more than couplehood. If it was reversed, it'd still be a problem. But, like I said, we're a minority. I get that. So, you know, I'm not asking for people to, like, go out of their way or anything. I'm not asking for people to, you know, I guess, like, write tons of books about us, or, you know, put us all over billboards somewhere, or have asexual pride parades, which would be, like, the way opposite of your average pride parade from what I've seen. It would just be a bunch of people walking around and giving each other hugs. Actually, that kind of sounds nice. I would go to that. That sounds kind of nice. You know, an ace pride parade where you just go on a march, you hang out with people, you know, you all chat about your experiences, and there's no pressure ever. And you can talk to somebody of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, and there's just no expectation that it's ever going to go farther. If you give somebody your number, it's because you want to talk to them more. It's not because you want to go on a date. And that sounds really nice. Now I'm thinking about that. That sounds really nice. I don't know. It's my ace friends out there. Does anybody else kind of feel like an ace pride parade sounds really nice? But also, I also don't think that you should base your entire like identity around your sexuality. I think that the same for anybody, regardless of sexual orientation. Like, I don't want to base my entire identity about it. I'm just talking about it now, but, you know, my identity is something completely different, and I think that people's identities are something completely different as well. I think that a problem a lot of society, especially society that's, like, more tolerant of the LGBTQ community, I think that they're starting to, like, grasp this sexuality as like what they are. And, you know, and I see a lot of posts online, it's like, look how gay I am right now. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I don't want to be labeled as, like, you know, I don't want to be posting things like, oh yeah, this is how ace I am every day. Maybe that makes you happy. I don't know. I can't, you know, I'm not in a position to judge, but I wouldn't want that. And I don't think that that's a healthy mindset for anyone. If a straight person did it, it'd still be really unhealthy. just because of that, it doesn't mean we shouldn't respect people for who they are and what they feel inside. We shouldn't respect people's journeys. We shouldn't, respect, that everybody is different. I just think that it would be I think it's very necessary, and I think it would be very positive to see this shift in acceptance for our, asexual, aromantic, or gray romantic, or gray and demi people as just people, people who don't have a specific desire. It's like having a friend who doesn't like chocolate. You might think they're nuts, but that doesn't stop them from not liking chocolate. I had a friend growing up who didn't like chocolate. I thought she was nuts. But I accommodated. I would make her vanilla cupcakes. If I brought like chocolate cupcakes to a class or something, I'd always make her a vanilla, because I knew she didn't like chocolate, and I was cognizant of that, and it wasn't a problem for me. It was like, I want to make her happy, so I'm gonna bring her a vanilla because she doesn't like the chocolate. And I think that mindset is sort of the bottom line. I think that's the most healthy mindset. It's to say, yeah, you might think that this lack of desire is crazy, or this lack of desire is just like, you can't fathom not wanting something. And I understand that's fine. Because it's, on my end, I can't really fathom wanting that. And I, that's just me. And so we're kind of on opposite ends of this thing, but, I can still be your friend. I can still be a fairly normal friend. It's just that there's this aspect to you that I don't have, and I'm sure there's an aspect to me that you don't have. And we both have different experiences, but our different experiences don't have to define us, and our likes and dislikes shouldn't have to define us either. We're human beings. We can love each other despite any of that. And I think that an asexual person deciding to give you a hug or write you a card or do something nice for you is, to that asexual person, they are genuinely giving you an expression of love that is, as passionate and as far as they're willing to go. And I think that should be seen, as more of a positive thing, as more of a beautiful thing. Because when you really think about it, like, an ace person isn't going to want to have sex with you, but they might take your trash out. They might, again, write you a letter. They might give you a present, or, they might give you a hug or whatever. And when you really think about that, it's like, this person is showing me love the way that they show love. And that's how they show love. And so that's a positive thing. That's a beautiful thing. That's a loving thing. And it's not this continuum. Like, it's not this, like, continuum of, like, hugging, kissing, sex, blah, blah, blah. And I think for sexual people, I guess it kind of is. But when it comes to friendships and things, and platonic relationships, that's not how it works exactly. I think a platonic relationship, it kind of has a different continuum. And the top level of the continuum is going to be different for everyone. And I would really like to see a society where we took everyone's individual expressions of love for somebody as all good, all positive, and all beautiful, even if it's a non-sexual thing, even if it's a non-romantic thing, because especially to asexual people, we are literally showing you as much love in exactly the way that we show love as you might show your partner from a physical intimacy. And I guess in that context, your ace friends they love you just as much. Like, we don't have a lack of abundance or a lack of ability to love somebody. We just don't love somebody in that way. But we can love you so much. We can love you with so much passion, but it's completely different kind of passion. It's this, I want to make this person happy. I want to work with this person. I want to be around this person. I want to show them how much I care about them. But it's not the same kind of way. It's not like this, I will die if I'm not with this person. It's not like that. It's just this, we love our friends. We love our family. We love people. There are ace people who are parents. They love their children. And ace people who are in, like, who are not aromantic, who are in romantic relationships, they love their partner, you know? It's, you know, you see that, you know, LGBT slogan, love is love, but I think that they, you know, I don't think that they had, like, asexuals in mind when I wrote that, but I kind of feel like I want to put that up and be like, we're showing you love. We're showing you, we're giving you everything we have. We're giving you everything we're comfortable with. We love you, and we care very much about you, and we don't have the inability to love you or we don't even have the inability to love you as much, or at least close to as much as we would love, like, a romantic partner or something like that. And I think that, you know, that's okay. I think that loving your friends with a very strong love is a good thing. And I think that loving your platonic relationships and all of that with a very, you know, very strong love for them is good. Not like a crazy, you know, obsessed no, that's yandere. Or, and I guess it kind of sounds weird coming from an asexual person, because I don't want to come off like it sounds like sexual or something like that, but no, I do think that loving somebody with an intensity doesn't mean a romantic thing. Loving somebody, you know, parents love their children with a very strong intensity. Children love their parents with a strong intensity. But I think that platonic relationships, people don't necessarily realize that it can be the same way. And I'm using platonic relationships as an example, but it can be family relationships as well. But, you know, we have that same capacity. It's just focused in a different area. And I guess I kind of want to be acknowledged for that a little bit. Appreciated for it. Maybe not acknowledged, but, like, appreciated for that. And just understand, I guess, to our, you know, our friends who are on the sexual spectrum, whichever way they swing, that asexuality is not a lack of ability to care for somebody. It's not a lack of ability to feel very strongly about somebody. It's not a lack of ability to make somebody a priority, or to, you know, to have that feelings towards somebody. That it's more just the fact that we feel very differently about our friendships, because our friendships are as close as we get. You know, you've got your partner, and that's like this level of love you don't have for somebody else, or at least hopefully you're not having for somebody else. But for asexual people, we don't have that one partner. We have, you know, we've got close friends, and so our close friends are like, they're the people we love. Our family, our friends, we love y'all. We care very deeply for you, and, you know, that level of love, you know, it's love is love. That level of love shouldn't be treated as something lesser, or something, you know, not as good, because we don't have this one desire, or this one, you know, way to show that love, or this desire to have that one person the way that you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you wanting the one person, but I think that people need to be more cognizant of the fact that you may have a romantic love towards somebody, and that's good. You know, I think that romance, I think that marriage, I think that relationships, I think they're all good things. You know, I'm not anti any of that. And I'm sure my friend who dislikes chocolate does not see chocolate as this horrible, disgusting thing. People love it, and it's like, okay, I don't like this thing, but other people do, so it's kind of like, okay, it's a thing. It's a very strange analogy, but I guess, you know, it's 2 days after Valentine's Day. That's why I've been thinking so much about it. But I guess, I don't know, for my friends who are on the sexual spectrum, from demi to, like, insatiable, just please keep in mind that your ace friends love you, and your ace friends, you know, we have a very strong depth of love for you, and we care very deeply for you. And it's very hurtful when you kind of act like that's like lesser than family because DNA, or partner because romance. And I get it, partner has to be priority because you're probably raising kids with them or because you're spending every day with them. That makes sense. That, you know, on a logical and an emotional level, that does make sense to us. And it's like, we're not going to try to, or at least a healthy asexual person is not going to try to like usurp the partner as that thing. But we want your friendship. We want to feel like we're appreciated. We want to feel like you understand that we love you. We want to feel like, I guess that we matter to you, and that our lack of feeling toward this one way is not something that is going to cause a problem for you, or is not something that's going to necessarily be seen as a negative thing by you, I guess. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say here is what I'm more or less trying to say. And you guys can, I was hoping to get like a discussion going in the comment section, but only one person was talking. And yeah, I do feel like I've been rambling for a while, so I'll probably put a stop to it soon. But I guess I just wanted to say, if any ace people are watching this and feel kind of the same way, let me know in the comment section. I don't want to get into a religious argument. I don't want to get into an argument over the definition of feminism. I'm not dumb. I know what it means. I know that feminism does not innately mean you're going to be an angry person who hates all men. I get that. I swear, I understand. Oh, hello. Okay. I don't want that discussion in the comments. Please, for the love of God, do not put that in the comments. But for my both ace and you know, sexual, for lack of a better term, I feel weird calling them that, or people on the ace spectrum, like, how do you feel about that? Like, are you, like, does this all make sense to you, I guess? Is this like a unique perspective? Is this something you'd heard before? Is this something new to you? Is it okay for us to ask? You know, is it acceptable, I guess, for you? And like, what's your perspective of an ace friend being like, you know, I want to love you, but I don't want to like love you like that, you know? I guess I'm asking you guys to make us feel a little bit more welcome and make us feel a little bit more like, you know, we matter to you because you matter to us. And we don't have that big partner love person. We just have ourselves and maybe a dog or a cat. I'd love to get one of each, actually. But again, rabbit trail. And then to my ace friends, is this how you feel? Do you feel like you're not very seen? To my ace friends, do you feel like the same way? Like, you kind of feel like you were talked into having or thinking you had feelings that you didn't? Or do you feel kind of like the odd one out for not wanting a relationship but not being like, you know, all anti-relationships or whatever? Just let me know what you guys feel. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything I missed, I'm willing to listen. If there's any, you know, genuine criticism you want to give, I'm more than happy to listen to that too. Again, no, please no arguments. I'm not, please don't, you know, you're not going to change my mind. You're not going to change anybody's mind. You're just going to piss everybody off. And I doubt anybody's going to like watch this whole thing, but I guess I should wrap this up. But, yeah, I just wanted to say pretty much all of that. I kind of wanted to say that that I want to be seen and I want to be appreciated. I don't want to be treated, you know, with all this priority or anything. You know, I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for you to love me and love me a lot, I guess. And I'm not saying like specifically love me, but like our asexual, your asexual friends. I think I speak for a lot of the ace community when I say we just want to be loved, and we don't want to be loved like that, you know. And we don't want to be made to feel like we're a second thought or we're not as important because there's this thing that you all want to do that we don't. And I guess I also wanted to say, like, that we want to be more seen and we want to be more visible and we want to be more respected. And to the religious community in particular, I just want to say we exist. We don't want to have sex. we want to serve God in our own way, please acknowledge us. Please acknowledge us, because it's so frustrating that you guys don't. I'm not looking for a spouse. Please stop writing these single women articles about how awful it is to look for a spouse. I don't want one. I just want one article about, like, happy single life, you know? Singleness, it's fine. And again, like, I'm not saying I'll never change my mind, but I'm saying I probably won't, and that's okay. And I was very fortunate with my current church to have a pastor whose daughter is asexual, so he was with it when I said I was. He's like, oh, I know what that means. He was, you know, his daughter came out to him, and he was very accepting, and he said, like, I think what he said that he told me what he told her, and that was, it's okay. It's completely fine. You know, asexuality it's a good thing. There's a lot of good things about being single, but if you meet somebody down the road, don't, you know, if you meet somebody down the road who, like, changes your perspective, or if you change your perspective down the road, don't, like, attach yourself to this label. And I thought that's good advice, because it's not the same as you'll change your mind. It's saying, you know, it's basically saying don't close your mind to the possibility, but it's okay to not feel that way. And it's okay to change. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to not change your mind. And I think that every ace person, especially every ace person in the church, should hear that piece of advice, because it's probably the best piece of advice we can get, is that this idea that, you know, singleness, asexuality, all inherently good things, but we shouldn't close our minds or our hearts to the possibility of ever changing that. And I think that the reverse needs to be true. Like, marriage and relationships and partners, all good things, but we shouldn't close our minds to the idea of singleness. Maybe you want to get married, maybe you want a partner, but maybe that's just not the right thing for you. Maybe later on, you might change your mind. I know, that sounds crazy. Did you know that some people can become asexual later and actually change their minds the opposite direction? Because it does happen. I don't know how often that happens. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it can swing, the pendulum can swing. Women's sexuality in particular is very fluid, so the pendulum can definitely swing, and I think that you'll change your mind is not true, but you might is very true for everyone. That may have been a rabbit trail. I'm not trying to get, like, super into the religious community or anything like that. I'm not trying to be that person, and I'm not trying to evangelize. Please don't assume I am. But I am saying that I would like to see more representation in that community as well. And I would like to see more acceptance and more things written for us in that community as well. And I'd be happy to write some things too, because I like writing, but I'm not in a position where I can do that right now. How do I end this? I don't even know how to end this. I just, I'll read some of the comments, I guess. It makes sense in people who drop friends for the sole reason that their relationship status changed. Need to re-examine their lives, because that's a scummy thing to do. There's literally no reason for someone to drop their single friend just because they got married. And then also it does. I know at least one person who has become ace. Yeah, exactly. Yes, if you get married, wonderful. We're happy for you. Just don't drop us. And I think that I can't be the only ace person who's had anxiety about that. So I guess remember to see us. We're here. We exist. I don't know if we count as queer, so I guess I don't even really know what that means, to be honest. I don't know if queer just is like a blanket term for, like, anything that's not straight. So we're here. We might be queer. I wouldn't consider myself that, because I don't, again, know what that means. But like I said, I try to stay away from the LGBT community because I have seen so much craziness there, and I just, as an asexual person, it's I want to go to that Ace Pride Parade. That sounds amazing. That sounds like fun. But it's just life. It's just different people being different and wanting different things. Yeah, so again, CS, hi, I exist. So your other ace friends, we exist. And we're looking for visibility. We're looking for your love. Please love us. Love is love. Love us, please. You don't have to put us first, but at least make us a priority. Come on, guys. And also, one last thing. If you have an ace friend, travel with them. Please. Even if you're married. Like, tell your spouse, I'm going to travel with my friend. I swear I'm not cheating on you with them. Hopefully you don't have to, like, clarify that. But travel with us. Because we might not have another ace friend we can travel with. So, yeah, go on vacation with us. Because we don't have someone to travel with. We might be by ourselves. And that kind of sucks. Like, if I had a dog, I'd love that dog. But I don't want to take my dog to Europe. Travel with us. Keep us, hang out with us. Include us in things that aren't necessarily couple things. I think that the nicest thing you can do for the ace person in your life, not just the single person in your life, I'm sure there's, single friends who would really love this too, is to spend time with them and, like, a time with them and just them on going on a trip or doing some activity, Do something with us. We won't bite you. We're not kinky. We won't bite at all. We're normal people, and I think that that's, like, a really nice thing to do for us. I think that's something that would mean a lot to your ace friend, if you have one. If you have an ace friend and you have the means to do so, yeah, travel with them. I think that would mean a lot to them, and I think that would be a really sweet thing for you to do, because they might not have somebody to travel with. And they might have places they want to go that they can't go because, like, all their friends only travel with their spouses or something like that. So, that's my last bit of advice, include us and, make sure that we get time with just you, one-on-one, not with you and your spouse, not with you and your relationship, not with you and your couple friends, just you, because one-on-one's great. Or a group of, friends who are in relationships but aren't with their husband or wife or other type of partner. We want to spend time with you. And I think that it would be really nice of you to let us. Someone says, I'm sure some of us could be kinky, it's just not as obvious. Fair enough, but we respect you. If we bite you, it's probably consensual, but I don't bite. I can't speak for every ace person. Hopefully they won't bite you, unless you really want to be bitten or something, but that seems very kinky to me. Ask your ace friend what's okay. Ask your ace friend their boundaries. But yeah, include us, travel with us. It would make our day. It would make our week. It would make our year if you took that time to spend with us. If you took that time to show love to us, I think that would be a really nice way to show love to us. If they took that time to show that we mean something to you because we're your friend, not because we're a charity case or because we don't have a partner and you feel bad for us. It's not that we want a partner, we just want a friend. So, yeah, I guess that's my advice for people in relationships. Travel with your ace friends. I bet you'll have a great time. I mean, you don't have to worry about any of that romance stuff. You don't have to go on the couples cruises or anything like that, You can come up with, like, really creative platonic activity you guys could do. Like, that sounds like a lot of fun to me. But I'm ace, so don't go on, like, a romantic cruise with an ace person. I think they'd feel uncomfortable. But go to Disney World with them. They'll have a blast. You'll have a blast, especially since you're not bringing your kids. I love kids. Not against kids, but that sounds super ridiculous. That sounds like that would be a nightmare. And again, bring your ace friend on your family vacation if you want to do that too. I'm sure that they would be fine with that as well, unless you have like 10 kids. Don't use them as the babysitter, okay? Please. You might find an ace person who loves kids, and is willing to be a babysitter. Then they can be your babysitter. But, like, don't use the fact that they're ace to be like, okay, stay home with the kids while all those couples go off and do stuff. That would just... I'm sorry, this is a total rabbit trail. But yeah. And to ace people, I see you. I hear you. Your voices matter. Your voices matter no matter what context it is. And to my religious ace buddies, no matter what faith it is, it's okay not to want to get married. Your God probably isn't going to get mad at you. I don't know actually much about religion, so I may be totally off on that. But if you're a Christian, God doesn't care. Well, I guess he cares about you. God doesn't mind you not getting married. You don't have to. And you don't have to want that. And it's okay. And your feelings are completely natural. And I don't know about other faiths, but if that applies to your faith, you can take that. You can take that to heart too. Because I don't want to step on somebody's beliefs or anything like that. But bottom line, it's okay to be ace. And it's okay to feel this way or not feel that way in that particular case. And respect your friends' relationships too, I guess. I don't know. I don't have any friends who are married right now, but, well, no, I do have one friend who's married, but it's kind of different. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say or any other relationship advice or anything like that. Just that we're here. We're maybe queer, depending on the definition of queer. And we're not going away, and we're great. We're a lot of fun. So, please appreciate us and please see us. And we love you guys. And no matter what you are, who you are, we love you guys. And we want to be there for you. And, you know, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to feel like you want a relationship, and it's okay not to want a relationship, I guess. So, leave a comment below if you got through this whole rant. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel or whatever stuff it is. I usually play games, so I just kind of went off on a wild rabbit trail. And again, if you're asexual, whatever it is, feel free to leave a comment. Everybody's welcome here. If you have a question, I'd be more than happy to answer it, unless this video gets really popular for some reason, but I doubt it. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to the 3 people who watched this, and I will see you in the next video. To anybody who knows how to contact me on other social media, feel free to talk about this more if you have more questions, and thank you all for listening to this very late night ramble that went on way longer than I expected, and good night!